is going on, guys? Disney Dan here. Welcome back into the channel and welcome to Star Wars Sunday. This is a show where we talk about one Star Wars movie once a month leading up to episode 9 in December. The months are cracking down. We're already on episode 3. This is going to be an awesome show. Today, Revenge of the Sith. We are super excited. This is going to be a nice, fun show. So this is a great way to spend your Sunday afternoon. And as always, my Jedi Master right here, my power channel right here, Walt from Mouse Talk. Good to see you, my friend. And yeah, episode 3.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to be more positive with this one. I'm really excited. We're going to have a fun time. I appreciate you having me back on as usual. This has been better and better each and every month we do it. And it's going to be a great time. And I'm super excited for the special guest we got today.
Yeah, I'm super excited too. I know that this guy is a big Star Wars fan. Is just a great supporter of everybody in this community. I think he's just a really genuine, down-to-earth guy. And that is Dougie from Walter Grams. Thank you so much for tuning in and being on the show this week.
No, it's like super grateful to be here. Really grateful to be invited to talk about this thing.
And I believe, is this our first time collabing together?
Yes, it will be.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Hopefully with many more to come. Now, let's see who's in the chat. We have Timothy Rainwaters, Only One Kenobi, Steve's World. Unfortunately, I can't stay today. We are having family get-together. I'll cash repay. Thank you, Steve, so much, pal. Really appreciate you stopping by. The Lucky Minute, Zippity Doodad, happy birthday from for last week. Cheryl Bernath is here. The Shep family here. R. Johns is here, the legend. Let's see. Melissa is here. Meg is here. Hey, Dan, Walt, and Dougie. Juan Rodriguez is here. Just amazing turnout today. Heading to Animal Kingdom right now. Fast pass for Flight of Passage. Oh, you're in for a treat. But yeah, we are going to be talking about episode 3 today. I am super excited. Please make sure you smash that like button. Turn on that notification button, hit that subscribe button, and go check out Mouse Talk and Walter Grams' channel. And if you had missed episode 1 or episode 2, they are in a playlist on my channel, so you can go back and watch me rant a lot about those 2 movies and give our opinions on those 2 movies. They're a lot of fun. But episode 3 is going to be an interesting one because I would say this is the watchable prequel.
I tend to agree.
I think, 2005. I remember, right? It was 2005. And this, for me, obviously, maybe a little bit younger. This was the first time I saw that I can remember seeing a Star Wars movie in the movie theater. I remember, I know exactly where I was. I know the movie theater I went to. It was the first one I remember going to see, and I loved it. I loved going to see a Star Wars movie in the movie theater, that I remember. And this was a PG-13 Star Wars. So we know people were going to die. We know there's going to be stuff that's going on. This is not a PG film. This is PG-13. It's going to be super exciting. And we know this is the story we've been waiting for. We finally get to see the transition from Anakin to Darth Vader. So we knew this was going to happen. We were all super pumped in 2005 after the 2, let's say, disappointing episodes 1 and 2. But let's go around. Let's start with Walt. What was your first gut feeling when you were ready to go and see Revenge of the Sith? Were there stuff you were looking forward to? What was the buzz like when you where you were? What was the whole thing about?
I had 2 emotions for me when this movie came out. Obviously, I had fear because of what we had transcribed in the 2 previous movies before this one. I was very worried as to where we were going to go and how well it was going to be done. But I was also intrigued because now we were finally going to see that transformation, and we were finally going to see how that transformation took place, or at least how they perceived it to take place. So I kind of had 2 different emotions that were, kind of pulling at each other. I was excited to see it, to see how it ended, how we get to where we were. And then I was also fearful that it was going to live up to the predecessors. So that's kind of where I was with it.
Yeah, for sure. And Dougie, what was it like up in Scotland? What was, did you see it at the movie theater? What was, your feeling about going into
I
it?
remember seeing the 3 prequels.
Okay.
But I was just dreading it.
Right.
Because all I could think about was Attack of the Clones and what that had been. But I knew that I was going to get to see the big guy, Vader. So that was sort of the string of hope through it. But yeah, dread in the run-up to that movie.
And I feel like this, the feeling with Revenge of the Sith is kind of like, right, Lucas has let us down twice. 3 strikes and you're out. Hashtag Sports Night reference. Go check out Sports Night. 3 strikes and you're out. And, I think George Lucas had to really prove something, because this is, the definitive movie that connects the prequels to the sequels. This is a really important movie. And, you could almost say you don't really need to see episodes 1 and 2 and just start with episode 3. But obviously there are, character developments, etc., from both films previously. But this film was so important because we finally get probably the biggest character in Star Wars, and that's Darth Vader. So it's interesting to see what happens. So people are going to die, people are going to burn because it's a PG-13 rated Star Wars movie. But I was really excited.
Dan, you make a good point. I think for those that didn't see episodes 1 and 2, you could watch episode 3 only and get away with it and move forward. I agree with that. I think 1 and 2, there was slight character development, but what was their actual real importance to where we ultimately were going? I think you're right. I think you could have started with 3 and you'd be okay. You'd understand what's going on.
Yeah, I think there's an order called like the Machete order, where you watch 4, 5, and 6, then episode 3 as like a flashback, and then episode 6 where you don't need episodes 1 and 2. And if you really don't like the prequels, for me, you don't really need to watch them, but it just gives you more development, more character development, and what's been happening in the past. But
right.
I certainly would give them a shot, but because there are people who do love the prequels. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but episode 3 was certainly the watchable out of the 3, and Lucas did bring it back a little bit. I'm not saying Revenge of the Sith was perfect, but it's exciting. Hey Brian, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Hey Brian, welcome in, buddy.
So let's kick things off, right? The crawl happens. Hey, Stephanie's Adventures, welcome into the stream. Good to see you too. Happy Sunday. And the first thing we see is this huge escape battle. Hey, Narrative Escapes, welcome into the stream. The only reason you need to see Phantom Menace is to realize Qui-Gon Jinn was the last remaining Jedi who had that
lost his way, I think.
Not lost his way.
Oh, it's Ian. Hello, Ian. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going? So let's take this first scene, right? This first space battle. And what I love about this first opening scene is how the camera moves with the fighters across the big ships. You see Anakin, you don't even know for sure if it's Anakin and Obi-Wan. All you see are 2 Jedi ships, which look cool, which look different to Attack of the Clones, flying through space. The camera goes beyond the Star Destroyer, and then all hell breaks loose. Like guns firing, massive space battle. It's huge. Everything's going on. And immediately you can tell the CGI is so much better than what it was. Like you can actually see a depth of space with everything that's going on. You're following these the Jedi starfighters through space, and I can actually see a lot that's going on. And I feel like comparing that to Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace, the CGI just doesn't hold up in those films. Whereas this opening scene, you're like, bam, we're right in the middle of it. It's all kicking off. There's no trade negotiations. It's right. We're straight into a fight, a ship, ship to ship fight. I think it's brilliant. So for first impressions, what do you think? We'll go with Walt. We'll keep the same order. So we'll start with Walt.
Okay. Well, I agree. I like the first impression. I do like the way you also. It almost feels like you're in your own ship behind these two as you're flying through space with that. That's what it feels like. That's kind of the vibe and look I see. So I agree. I love that part of it, and it's really cool to see all the different ships coming in. I like the fact they have the little, what do they call it? The dreadnought droids or whatever, the ones that hook onto your ship and
the buzz droids. The buzz droids.
Droids. That's what they're called, right? Dreadnoughts are in the new movie. But yeah, I thought that part of it was really, really cool. On cinematography, yes, the CGI was much, much better. It looked much more realistic, for what we had in the previous two movies. Dialogue-wise, we'll get into that.
Yep.
But the actual scenes itself of the action for that part of it before we get on the ship, I liked it a lot. Yeah, I agree. I thought it was cool.
Dougie?
Yeah. Rewatching it, I really, really did enjoy it. That opening, it's very different from all of the other openings in the film, which focus on tend to focus on one ship, sort of slowly moving. And this was just like bam into what I think is probably one of the better action sequences of the prequels. Yeah, just really, really enjoyed it. Like you say, massive improvement in CGI. Little bit ropey. There's bits where you see Obi-Wan and Anakin inside the ship where it just looks ridiculous, but generally really, really good. Yeah, really, really fun opening.
And I think it's quite different because if you look at all the films that came before it, so Episode 4, it was literally just the two spaceships following each other. Episode 5, the Empire sends out droids. Episode 6, you got the shuttle with Darth Vader on it. Episode 1 is the trade negotiation ship. Episode 2 is got Queen Amidala's ship, and they're all is either one or two ships. Nothing's going on. Episode 3, opening crawl. Bam, we're in. It's something different. It's something new. I like it. And yeah, I think the close-ups maybe of Anakin and Obi-Wan, you can still tell that they're in a small confined space with a green screen behind them. But let's be honest, the prequels are full of green screen and blue screens. Hey, Miguel Benitez, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Welcome into the stream. Happy Sunday. But I think just getting the excitement up, because we know this film's going to be long, to get the excitement up, getting the blood going, like this was a great way to start.
And the thing about it, let me just say one other thing. CGI has its place in any movie. And where it has its place the most are in the space battle scenes. You have to have, that's what CGI is. It has to be. Yeah. That's why it's so much better in this film, because you're expected to be CGI, and yet they make it look relatively real, which is, I think, a vast improvement. I think Dougie's right. It's a very big improvement.
Now, we come to one of my actual favorite scenes of the movie. It's something very small. They land in the ship. Anakin and Obi-Wan start making way through the tunnels. And this small little droid called R2-D2 unleashes his absolute godlike powers and takes on two battle droids. And just like, it's silly, but it's not Jar Jar Binks silly, right? Right. It's quite comedic. We do see a little bit of that in Attack of the Clones where R2 pushes C-3PO off in the factory, which, okay. But I think it you can go either way. I think it gives R2 a little bit of character instead of being just a droid. It's the droid we loved from episodes 4, 5, and 6. And just the way he took out these two droids with oil and setting the oil on fire and letting them burn. I think it's just a fun, quirky scene. It just sets the mood, kind of, even though a lot of stuff is going on. I do like the fact that the camera does go back to R2 to see what's happening to him. Because if they didn't, it'll feel like R2's just waiting at the ship and doing nothing. And when Anakin says R2 stay with the ship, like he does a lot in this movie, I feel like we need to know what R2 is doing because he is a character in the end. So, let's just quickly talk about including that scene leading up to Count Dooku fight. What do you get from inside this spaceship and Anakin, Obi-Wan, R2? What do you think?
Well, for me, Anakin and Obi-Wan, that part of it where they're inside with the elevator and not catching the elevator and that it's fine. It's filler.
Yeah.
Of that entire part, the part with R2 is the best part. It's very entertaining. Look, R2-D2 has attitude. We got that in 4, 5, and 6. He's always had attitude. He doesn't take anything from anybody.
Nope.
The fact that they included this and he beats up these two, really powerful droids, just outsmarts them and takes them out. It's perfect. I love it. I love that part. I always give it I always go like this when he does it, because R2's one of my favorite characters anyway. I love that droid.
Only one Kenobi says, I love the comedic R2 scene. You're making me want to watch Revenge of the Sith again. Love that one. Finish the stream and then we'll go watch it. Yeah. Dougie, what do you think of giving R2 a bit of character, or is it a scene that you don't really, what's your view on this one?
Pretty much anything with R2, even in the dreaded Attack of the Clones. I thoroughly enjoy. I do get a little bit annoyed that in terms of chronology, we're seeing him do things that would have been useful at other times, but he couldn't do just due to the limitations of the time the films were made. But I don't really care. I'm just happy to see R2 was little attitude, going against essentially the bullies. Those are the bigger droids, and he's just this little guy who's not going to take it. He's a little rebel, and I love him.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm honest, he's one of the best characters from the prequels, because we have loved him from the original trilogy, and just him giving those small scenes just makes everybody love him even more. So, great scene. I want to talk about a very small scene that really, it's a scene that reminds us of episodes 1 and 2, and that's the force field scene. Bearing in mind that this, if you've watched the bloopers, this whole spaceship scene was going to last over an hour. They cut it down. And just, I feel like this is the first time the dialogue really goes back to its wooden self. And, Obi-Wan and Anakin say, patience. Anakin will come through and he'll release the ray shields. Like, there's no, they're on an enemy ship. They should be like, right, we need to move. Otherwise, all these thousands of battle droids are going to come and take us out. There's no, incentive, right? It feels like they're running through empty corridors on a big spaceship. And I don't know, there are 3 elevators and there's no battle droids around them. There's nothing around them. You get the odd, roller droids or battle droids, but nothing like they're in the middle of a war zone and this spaceship feels empty. This kind of doesn't feel right with this whole ray shields force field thing. I don't know. It was the first thing that kind of reminded me of episodes 1 and 2. And it does bug me. I always skip this tiny little 5-minute scene because it just isn't needed. What do we think?
Well, if you're talking about the scene where they get caught in the ray shield and he goes, ray shield? How do we get caught in the ray shield? We're smarter than this.
No, you're not.
And that's the problem. It feels forced. It definitely feels like a forced dialogue that I don't think Ewan McGregor wanted to say.
No.
He has no choice. He's got to say it. He's like, let's just get past this very quickly. Yeah, that's where, for me, dialogue is. Oh, if there's a downfall to this film, it's the dialogue, which I'm sure we'll get into more. If that's probably the one downfall to this, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Is that type of dialogue just kind of sets you back? You're like, really? That's what you're going to say right now? And you're right. I think it's unnecessary. And where are all these? Where are the droids? Where's the bad guys?
They might as well just be in a library.
Yeah, I mean, they're there.
There's nothing there. They're in the middle of a war zone. I'm pretty sure, in something like World War II and you're in the trenches, there are hundreds of people around you in a war zone.
Right.
This is a war. And the droids are what? Are they all on a refill, a recharging break? I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then when they do get caught, there's only half a dozen of them that turn up.
Right.
These are Jedi. They're the most powerful beings apparently are most powerful beings in the galaxy. And what you take them hostage with like 6 battle droids? It's I don't know. Right, Dougie, I need to control my raging. So Dougie, what do you think of this scene?
Waste of time. I've said this before in the chat. Like George Lucas, I think a big problem with the prequels is just excess in him thinking that he needs to like just have anything happening on screen, and rather than cutting things that need to be cut for time pacing, he just leaves it in because that's what he thinks will make it better. Just more talking, more things happening. Yeah, waste of time.
Less is more.
Less is more. I mean, It's true. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 2.5-hour movie.
It doesnn't. And this movie is a long movie. It was meant to be like 4 hours long, the original cut. And then they cut like lots of, and I feel like it is choppy. The movie is quite choppy because they have taken a lot out. But again, the dialogue again, like you said, Dougie, you don't need it. It's a waste of time. But then we get to the first big lightsaber fight of this movie, Count Dooku versus Anakin and Obi-Wan. Now, if you watched the last one we did, I made the suggestion that Count Dooku had died in Attack of the Clones, and our main villain was General Grievous in the first half of the movie. I think that would have been a much more compelling character. We don't get a lot of Grievous. I think he would have been kind of cool, which we'll get into in a little bit because when we get to the Grievous scene. But this lightsaber fight is 10 times better than the one in the Attack of the Clones. Just with Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Count Dooku. Like, you do get that sense of chemistry with all 3 of these actors. I feel like, yes, it's still Count Dooku's stunt double, but for once, it actually looks like Christopher Lee. And, there's more at stake here. You got Palpatine, who is captured, although he's, we know he's not captured. It's a trap. And we do get that it's quite an intense battle. Obi-Wan gets knocked out, and it's literally Anakin versus Dooku. And the ending, we get a slight hint from the Emperor. We do get Palpatine saying like, "Do it," like as if like he is the Emperor, and we finally get Anakin actually, taking the head off of Dooku. This is huge, right? So yeah, only one Kenobi says, "Hi Dan, man, I gotta run, but I'll watch the rest of it on the catch. I gotta credit my own podcast before tomorrow. I got great show on Wednesday. Thank you. Hey, no problem, anyone Kenobi. Thank you so much for stopping by. Christopher Lee, you mean Saruman? Oh dear. Yeah. So look, I do like this fight. I think it's a great opening. Not the best lightsaber fight in all of the films, but I think it's a better improvement than Attack of the Clones. So what do we think of this opening lightsaber fight?
I like it. I think it's a good scene. I do agree with you. I think it's better. The one thing I don't like about it is, for me, is I think you have to be true to the scene. And in the one part of the scene where he takes and lifts and throws Kenobi, and then the building or the banister, he knocks it down on top of Obi-Wan Kenobi on his legs. How are his legs not broken?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's come to me and say, when he comes over to him, hey, my legs are broken, I can't move. And then it can be, weeks later when his legs are healed that we pick back up or something. But his legs aren't broken. He gets up. That's the only inconsistency about that scene that for me I don't like. But the scene itself with the actual battle and the lightsabers is really done well. I like that part of it.
I mean, they could have easily just like Dooku could have just hit something over the head of Obi-Wan or used some sort of he almost could have used some sort of other object to trap Obi-Wan Kenobi instead of just like having a whole big thing fall on him.
Yeah.
And I think it's just making sense of that. Look, I don't know. I think it's that. Yeah, I can see how that is a bit off, but
yeah, I don't know if I'm being nitpicky.
You're talking to me about nitpicking.
I'm
nitpick all the time.
I'm nitpicking, but it's just, for me, just don't even show that scene then. You throw him up against the wall, he's knocked out. End of story. We get it.
Yeah. Dougie, what do you think of this fight scene?
I really, really enjoy it. I think, like you said, the doubling and the CGI head replacement and Christopher Lee was so much better than in Attack. And it's not shot like in those weird close-ups with lightsabers flashing and it looks like a weird rave. There's none of that. But I think it's in the wrong place.
Okay.
Because I think the problem that I have, one of the problems I have with all the prequels, is the sort of one and done thing of the bad guys. And I would have liked to have seen Dooku, who you've established as a really formidable opponent, be used later, closer to Anakin's proper descent into the dark side.
Yeah, you could have almost like maybe swapped Grievous's role and Dooku's role, and
that's what I would have liked to have seen, because I don't like Maul, Dooku, Grievous. I think you needed to build a villain up to something to then go out.
And
that would be
and I think you're right. I can see why, Lucas, he, to be honest, if you look at those three characters, Darth Maul, Count Dooku, General Grievous, they're all cool characters, but there's no depth behind them. We don't really know who they are, and we don't really get a lot of time with them. And even if they are minor villains, like that, we know that they're not going to be around by Episode 4 comes around, or maybe they are because of Solo, a Star Wars story, but no spoilers. I feel like you're right. I feel like there needed to be more from them. I feel like they're like the disposable Marvel characters. They're like the Malekiths from Thor: The Dark World. They're like the Obadiah Staines from Iron Man. Like they're just displaceable characters, and I feel like they are cool characters, and they need more from that. So I think you're right. No, I do agree with that, Dougie. That's a great point.
I agree 100%.
Having seen what we saw of Dooku in Attack of the Clones, where he basically fought Yoda, the big guy, to a standstill, it feels like he would have been the one to develop and be this sort of final hurdle that Anakin has to overcome, maybe to take his place, something. I don't know. So it was so much more well done than an Attack. I just think it was in the wrong place in the film.
Nice. Have you got any comments for that, Walt? Of the characters?
I agree. I think that the one and done on all these characters is too bad. I mean, you could have taken Darth Maul alone and developed him throughout all three movies and made him a really, really bad guy to the point where we can't wait for him to die. And then have the big fight scene with either him and Anakin or him and Obi-Wan in the third movie leading up to it, and make it for a great, impactful fight scene. And yet every single one of these guys gets very little playtime in the movies, and there's no way to really develop, good or bad, any sort of connection to them.
Yep.
I agree.
Nice. T-Town Mary Allen says, I want Dougie's cap. I was saying this earlier before the stream. I really like Dougie's beanie hat. It's really awesome. I like it. So we get Do It from the Emperor. Like we get that slight hint, like, okay, not only are we seeing Anakin slightly turn, we're seeing the, Palpatine slowly turning into the Emperor. I like it. So Dooku gets killed. We finally get something dark from Anakin. I really like how Hayden Christensen looks in this movie. He's got the long hair. He's got the scar along his face. Even though he's still part of the Jedi Order, you could tell the way he's dressed. It's all black, right? It's black and browns. Like, he's that turning of the dark side. And Obi-Wan is still in his light colors. So it's a good contrast. I like the way they use their costumes in this movie.
I agree. You can get the symbolism from the costumes for sure. You definitely feel the darkness. You can see it. Everything about him is dark. You know, his hair is dark. His look is always, he's always got this, you know, upset look on his face. He's always got this almost a look of he's battling his inner demons. You can see it throughout. I'll give him credit for that. A lot of times he gives us good things in that nature when it comes to Hayden Christensen, who I was not happy had this role in the first place, which we've talked about ad nauseum. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and he's less whiny in this movie. He's less, you know, I don't feel like he's a kid anymore. He's more of a teenager.
He's got a couple moments. We'll get to those.
We'll get to those. But let's talk about General Grievous. Now, there was a really great animated TV show called The Clone Wars, which was written and directed by the same guys who did the Cartoon Network show Samurai Jack. And this TV show, it was only like an hour to 2 hours long. I think it was an hour for both seasons. Really short. They're like a micro series. And it really gave a lot of backstory to General Grievous. And at the final episode of that micro series, we see Mace Windu cramping General Grievous's chest plate. And that's where we get the cough in Revenge of the Sith, which Grievous has in that movie, which I think is a great little touch. I think it's great. Getting in those small kind of nitpicks from an animated show, I think it's you know, attention to detail. And I think that was something really great. And I think, you know, General Grievous in this, you know, small scene, I think he looked cool. I think he's a good looking character. I think we don't really know much about him. We know he was trained by Count Dooku, so we know he's kind of a big deal, but, you know, Count Dooku just was defeated by Anakin and Obi-Wan, so, you know, how much like trained is he, if you get what I mean? Like, is he really that? Because he was just defeated. But, you know, I think Grievous was a good filler character, a good filler villain. Yeah, I just, you know, he was just a fine character. I think he's kind of like the Jango Fett from Attack of the Clones in a way. That's his role, a side role. So, so we get the crash landing scene with the Separatist ship. This scene, like, for me, you know, it's meant to look really exciting that they're crash landing on Coruscant, but I just don't get excited by this. There's something about it. I just feel like they all sit like in their chairs, like as if like they're having another drive through in like through the woods, or a nice drive through the countryside. Like, if I was crashing from space down to a planet, I'm going to keep this PG, but I'm going to beat myself. Like, I'm going to be terrified. But the Emperor is just sitting there. He's fine. Obi-Wan is like, you know, this is cool. R2's doing his little stuff. Like, it just, there's something about it. I just feel like, why are they not panicking? Is it because they're Jedi? I don't know. What do we think?
You know, I'll play devil's advocate and say yes, that's why. Yes, they feel like they have everything under control and they're supposed to be able to control their emotions. And he's a Sith, and Sith are kind of similar to Jedi in that way, that they're supposed to be able to control their emotions. I'll assume that's why it's done that way. It doesn't come across that way. It comes across like they're robots and they're bland and they're just, you know, like you said, it's a walk in the park, no problem at all. We'll just crash this shit and we'll be fine.
Yep.
So that's kind of my take on that scene. It's a filler scene again.
It is a filler scene, but they had to get out of space somehow. But it just I feel like they could have. There needs to be more emotion coming from them. I don't know, Dougie. What do you think?
I think like that's a sort of almost until you get to the end of the film, that's just sort of a blanket. There needs to be more emotion. But yeah, just what you say. It's just, and like I really had to struggle not to properly laugh out loud. Like Obi-Wan's just like, yeah, this is cool. I thought that was hilarious the way you did that. And I would love to have seen that in the actual film. Yeah. Just take it to its conclusion. Yeah, it's cool, whatever. Yeah, it's just, again, Georgie boy trying to just cram in as much as he can. I don't think it works.
Yep.
Yeah. No?
Yeah. So from something that was meant to be exciting but was quite bland to something that is very bland, and that's they land on Coruscant, and all you see is them walking through the outside of the Coruscant Senate building, and you can just tell this is the most bluiest blue screen I've ever seen in my life, because it feels like you're in the labyrinth in you're probably gonna cringe. You and Meg are gonna cringe at this. In Fellowship of the Ring, the dwarf mine. What's it called? The Mines of Moria, right?
Yeah, the Mines of Moria.
It feels like it's as empty as the Mines of Moria, the outside of that Senate building, because it looks like it goes on for miles and miles and miles, and nothing is there. Like it's the bluest blue screen, and they're just talking like they're just walking and talking like they have done in Attack of the Clones and in Phantom Menace. Like it just comes to a standstill, and then Anakin and Padme talk to each other about being pregnant, and he's like, "Oh, that's amazing. Oh, what's the council gonna think?" Like they've just made the whole thing up in the last movie about being love is forbidden and you're not meant to be in love, and like it's just it's just like this it just doesn't. Again, it's the dialogue. It's kind of like a double hitter. You got really bad dialogue in a bad blue screen set. It doesn't work. And I think Lucas would have thought he mended this by now, but again, he goes back to his old ways and does something like this.
And what he's trying to ultimately do is just advance the story. He's trying to get us to a point, and that's fine. And he's trying to cram a lot in that time frame where he's got to talk about now she's pregnant. They're not even supposed to be together in the first place, this, that, and the other. And they're trying to cram it all in. And you're right, the dialogue to do this just doesn't work. It's unfortunate, but it's again, there's certain parts of this movie that really revert back to the original, the first two, I agree. But luckily there are parts that we'll get to later that help to redeem it. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Dougie, what about this blue screen mess?
Everything I say sounds the same, but yeah, I just didn't care. Anytime those two are on screen together, and that relationship really needed to work for you to buy the reason that he goes to the dark side. And I just never buy them together. And then she goes, "Oh, honey, something wonderful has happened." And then there's his whole like acting. Lots of just that's wonderful. It's just
isn't it sad that the better chemistry is between Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor than Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman? Like it's
different chemistry, though. It's different chemistry. His chemistry with her is supposed to be love. The chemistry with Obi-Wan. Oh, you talking about the fighting side of it, or just in general?
I'm just saying, like that the fact that they had chemistry.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Whereas Natalie, I feel like maybe Hayden Christensen was nervous to work with Natalie Portman. I don't know, but there was no chemistry with them at all. Like I'm gonna go to a because it's WrestleMania today. I'm gonna go to a wrestling reference. If two guys can't work in the ring and tell a compelling story, the match is gonna be terrible, right? So if you have two people who can't work together, and we don't, this is meant to be a big romance. This is meant to be the main romance of the story, and if it doesn't work, it just feels flat. I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know. Yeah. So let's move on to having Anakin. I think this part of the movie starts to be really important for Anakin, and this is kind of like his first, almost psychological, character manipulation. Like he starts to change his character and starts to go more into the dark side. So we know that Anakin, the Emperor tells Anakin that he's ready to be on the Jedi Council. The council were like, "No, we can't have him. He's not a master. he can be on the council, but he can't be a Jedi Master. So already that's a little tweak, you know, a little like thing that's going to affect Anakin. Then the council say to, you know, Anakin, hey, we need you to spy on Palpatine. And then Palpatine knows that, you know, he's going to be, Anakin's going to spy on him. And it's kind of like the council and Palpatine are using Anakin as like a pendulum, right? It's going back and forth, back and forth. And all of that is affecting him psychologically. And, you know, and then also you get Anakin's visions of Padme dying. So again, you know, these are the visions, the same visions that happened to his mother. And again, this is another thing that is affecting him and affecting his mind. So although it's a much slower part of the end of the first act, I think it's quite an important part of this movie. It is a little bit less, you know, riveting, but I think in terms of storytelling, it's quite good. Hey, Greg Cupper, welcome into the stream. I'm going to catch up on some chat right now. Me and Liam are talking about WrestleMania because it's WrestleMania tonight. This episode is so forgettable to me, seeing it many times, but probably my least favorite. I only remember the end. Very interesting, Lucky Minute. I'm intrigued to see your list. Ewan McGregor, Christopher Robin says Meg. Hayden Christensen is super cute though. I'm not going to comment. Narrative Escape says the only people who survived these films were the stage actors who could to some degree be on the blue screen and the script. Everyone else didn't survive on the acting front. I love it. Hey Sherry, what's up? Good to see you. Greg, we can maybe talk about WrestleMania and the Bret Hart situation a little bit later. So what do we think about Anakin's slow, you know, the start of his change in his mental state with everything that's going on, him being a spy, not being granted the rank of master, and starting to get these visions? What do we think?
I like that part of it. I like the idea of it being that way. The Emperor is a very, very smart individual. He's no dummy.
Yep.
He knows what he's doing, and he understands how to manipulate. And he knows, look, if there's anybody out there that knows the Jedi really well, it's the Sith. It's kind of like their yin to their yang. They know each other really well. So they understand how they think, and they understand, you know, who they have here. The difference is the Emperor knew who Anakin was more than the Jedi knew who Anakin was, and he knew he could manipulate him better. Somebody in the chat says that they feel like the Jedi let Anakin down. Maybe they did in the fact that they trusted him with something that was a little too important. They should have kept him away from the Emperor. And you're right. I agree with you. I think this is a good part of the movie. You're starting to really see how bad the Emperor can be too, and how manipulative he can be, and his importance in Anakin's downfall.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, you know, is if you think about it, this movie is not so much, you know, Anakin's story, but it's also the Emperor's origin story in a way, because this is how he really fully becomes the Emperor, by manipulating this young Jedi, really. So, and Dougie, what do you think about his, you know, Anakin's start of becoming more of a dark character?
So the thing that I find really interesting about Anakin's descent and the start of it is that the whole Padme side of it comes from reshoots. It wasn't in the original cut of the film. It just wasn't there. It was all about Anakin having a lust for power and the Jedi misusing him the way that we see here. And I kind of wish they'd stuck with that and gone more into that. The idea was that the Jedi have moved from being basically a peacekeeping force to a political force. And Anakin is opposed to that and feels like he's been held back by it, and that the Jedi are becoming enemies of the Senate. And I think that's a much more interesting way to go. The Padme thing was added after someone said there's not enough there. And I think that's the reason it feels kind of tacked on throughout the movie. But the stuff with the Jedi and everything, because so much of it was cut in favor of the Padme stuff, I think it's underdeveloped. I would have loved to have seen more of that. Just loved to have seen more of that.
I too. Yeah, I
Good
would
point.
agree with that. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
And this goes back to when I said, like, this movie does feel choppy. Like, there is a lot of stuff that it seems to bounce to a lot of different things all in one go. And that's why we see a lot of, like, he's not on the Jedi Council. No, he is on the Jedi Council. He's not the rank of master. Then he gets the visions. Then he has to do this. Then he has to do, like, it is choppy. And I think the way they could have maybe edited it together maybe a little bit better. But you're right, Dougie. I think that's great. But I want to bring on probably, in my opinion, the best scene in the movie, and that is the story of Darth Plagueis. I think by far, I think if I could honestly say, if I had a top 10 Star Wars moments, this would be in my top 10. I think it's such a powerful scene, and it feels like that it literally is, if you think about it, the Emperor and Darth Vader talking, discussing about the Sith. And I think it's a really powerful message because firstly, you see the Emperor using his words in such an amazing way and in a story about a Sith legend, which is great because we don't hear a lot about the Sith, right? You know, all we hear in episode 1, The Phantom Menace, is like the Sith have returned, blah, blah, blah. We don't get much about what the Sith really is. And I love the fact that we get some sort of background to how dark these people are. We get this amazing character who obviously we never get to see, called Darth Plagueis. He all we know, he could have been made up by Palpatine to convince Anakin, hey, we can keep Padme from dying. Like, it's just adding that extra just depth to the story. And I honestly, the chemistry between Ian McDiarmid and Hayden Christensen in that scene is amazing. It's really good. I think just that scene by far is my favorite in the whole movie, and just the way it's directed, the dialogue surprisingly is really good, and I just love it. I really do. Maybe there are differences in opinion, but I really like this part. It's an awesome scene.
Well, here's my opinion on the scene. First off, Darth Plagueis, if I'm not mistaken, when he's telling Anakin this, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't he basically telling his story? Wasn't he the apprentice
of Darth Plagueis?
Right. So he's just telling his story. He's the one that killed Darth Plagueis in his sleep.
It's the way he tells it, right?
Absolutely. Great. Oh yeah, he's telling a story, but what he's telling is his story. Anakin doesn't know that, but those that know Star Wars well know he's telling his story.
Yep.
And you're right. It shows how manipulative he is that he brings it across in such a fantastic way that it enthralls Anakin to the point that he's listening. And I can even suspend the belief that he's just going to automatically believe what the Chancellor's saying. And the reason why it's because it's like somebody's, God forbid, they're told they have cancer. They'll go to 5 different doctors until they get that 6th doctor that says, no, you don't. That's the one they'll believe. Well, that's kind of how Anakin is. If he believes that there's something out there that can save her from dying, he's going to believe it. He's just going to believe it.
Yeah.
Whether he has any proof of it or not, it's called blind faith because that's what he wants to believe. So I can even suspend disbelief on that because, you would think normally people would be like, why do you trust what he's saying? Don't you want proof? Not when it comes to that kind of stuff. That's just how people are. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's a great scene. It's important because it helps us now to get to where we're going as to why he's willing to turn so easily. And it kind of explains it.
It's weird because, they're talking about the Sith and preventing of dying and whatever, but actually this conversation has made both these characters very humanized and really relatable to us. Like you said, comparing it to the Doctor and finding, if someone has cancer or not, that is brilliant. I think that is great because it actually genuinely feels real and human. So yeah, and that's why I love this scene. And Dougie, what do you think of this scene?
No, absolutely agree with everything that's been said. It's a fantastic scene. It's a proper like showcase for Ian McDiarmid, like just doing his acting. And it's probably his best scene across the prequels.
Yeah, I would agree with
that. But yeah, like Walt was saying, I mean, this is the way that people get indoctrinated into cults and stuff. It's just someone who knows exactly what that individual wants to hear. And these things happen super quickly. So I totally buy in that Anakin would be tempted by this. Because
Quickly.
It happens in the real world. They just these people with these incredibly powerful magnetic personalities know what these people want to hear. They know how to pull them into it. It gives us a little bit of his backstory, which has been like expanded upon in books and stuff. Plagueis is like the most interesting, never seen character ever. And it gives us that little hint at Anakin's origins with the idea of, he can control the Force so much he use it to create life, which is the origins of Anakin Skywalker, and his having no father. It's a scene, I think, that brings a lot of stuff together across the 3 films and sets up what's about to happen.
Yeah,
wonderfully.
Hey Chris, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Welcome into the stream. And what I do love even more is the Emperor knows that Anakin is vulnerable right now. Like, he knows psychologically he's vulnerable, and he's going, I've got you now. Like, this is, it's kind of like convincing your boss about something, and you like give him like some sort of something to brown nose them, whatever, and just try and make them like you. And he's doing it perfectly. And that's what I love about this scene. Certainly one of the best scenes in the movie. And honestly, this movie, this scene is probably the best scene compared to all the other scenes in both episodes 1 and 2, except for maybe the Duel of the Fates fight at the end of episode 1, because I do love that. Very, very quickly, we finally get a Wookiee planet, Kashyyyk. It's great. I love the fact that, it's paying a little bit of homage to the originals, and we get to see where Chewbacca comes from. I think it's cool. I think seeing Chewbacca in this film is it's a good little Easter egg. I think it's, he's not there too much, but again, we do get a little bit of something, and I do like that. I think maybe a little bit more time spent on Kashyyyk and actually getting more of, I want to see Yoda do stuff instead of being in a treehouse the whole time, right? So I think it's cool. I think we get to experience more of the galaxy, with all the Jedi going to so many different places. And then we get Obi-Wan heading to Utapau, where he meets the aliens from Indiana Jones' Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. They do. They look like them. Because, Spielberg and George Lucas are friends.
Best pals. Yeah,
they borrowed them from each other. And I think, because we know that the Clone Wars is coming to an end. And it's a shame because I wanted more, but I feel Obi-Wan versus Grievous was maybe a little bit of a letdown, because I would love to see more. When Grievous gets all 4 lightsabers out, I'm like, oh, that is sick! Like, this guy has 4 lightsabers. What is it? How can Obi-Wan defeat this guy? Like, this guy is like, this is so cool. He's got 4 lightsabers. He's like twirling them around like jet propellers, like from Indiana Jones 1. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of comparisons to Indiana Jones, but I think it's like, when I saw that, I was like, this is so cool. But it didn't take long for Obi-Wan to overcome this, and I feel like it was a little bit of just a little bit of a letdown. And there was one part in this movie, in this scene, where there's a really horrific camera shot where you get a close-up of Obi-Wan with his eyes, and he goes, "Oh, I don't think so." And it just looks terrible. Like, it's like, why did we need a close up of him going, "Oh, I don't think so"? Like, it's just, again, it was just really cheesy. It didn't really need to, happen. But and we start getting the chase, and yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. We start, we do feel like we're in the war between the clones and the droids, and I think it was, a good, if Grievous had more backstory and he was more compelling, then maybe, it would have been a little bit better. But I thought it was a fine, it was fun. It was fun. What do we think of Grievous versus Obi-Wan?
Well, I'll say this. I want to go back a little bit. You're talking about the Wookiee planet. I agree. It's nice to see them add that. It kind of expands the universe a little bit. We get a little bit bigger. We get to see a little bit more of other planets, which I think is really cool. I thoroughly agree that they should have had more of that. Maybe a little bit more of Chewbacca in a segue of maybe ultimately how he might meet up to Han. Something. Give us a little bit of something. You show him, well, what happens to him from here? They didn't really expand on that, but that's fine. I agree. But when we get to the planet where Obi-Wan goes, where General Grievous is, that's really, really cool. My whole issue is I've never been a big General Grievous fan.
Right.
I don't necessarily like the character.
Okay.
I think he's unnecessary to the story. I think what he does, Count Dooku could have easily been that role. That's just me. I think he's just an extra bad guy that was thrown in and all. And the cough thing, if you hadn't said, now it makes sense. Right. Because to me, I didn't know that. To me, it was just the dumbest thing ever. I was like, why does this guy have a cough?
Yep.
Now it makes sense. Okay, now I get it. But is he a droid? Is he a person? Because he's got a real heart. Maybe you guys can explain that to me. I like the fact that Obi-Wan beat him quickly because, in my opinion, Obi-Wan has got to be one of the top 2 or 3 Jedis of all time, most powerful, and he should take somebody like that out pretty quickly. But I mean, that's just me. I think he would have a tougher time with Count Dooku because he's very powerful. But I like that whole scene. I understand its importance, though.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just a little bit more backstory, because I feel like if people didn't see the Clone Wars micro series, they wouldn't know a lot about Grievous's backstory, and he is kind of a displaceable character. And I think we maybe we didn't need him. Maybe if Maul had stayed around, maybe it could have been Maul on Utapau instead of Grievous. I think that would have been cool. Or maybe if Dooku, stayed alive, I don't know. But I don't know. I think it was fun. Was it necessary? I don't know. I do. Look, I feel like it's it's not boring. Like I feel like it is
not boring.
Yeah,
it's not boring.
There is excitement there. Dougie, what about you with Grievous and this fight scene between Obi-Wan?
So I was really happy when you talked about the first Clone Wars series, the 2D animated Clone Wars series of Cartoon Network, because when that came out, I thought that was so good.
It was great. I loved it.
I absolutely loved it. And in that, Grievous is really cool. Like, and all those lightsabers that he has are lightsabers he's taken from Jedi that he's killed. And they touch on that in the animated series. And then I thought when it came to the film that they kind of nerfed him. He wasn't as effective, anywhere near as effective in the film as he was in the series. I guess kind of because if they left him at that level, no one would beat him because he was crazy OP in the animated series.
He was, yeah.
But to me, this is where we slide properly back into the excess of Attack of the Clones, and you've got Obi-Wan riding around on that thing. I don't know what it is.
Like a giant lizard.
Chasing after really Grievous. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, this is exactly what I didn't want. And when you said about the bit where he's like, oh, I've been trained in the Jedi arts by Count Dooku, and he takes out like the 4 lightsabers, but he just sort of starts spinning them. I'm thinking that's not that impressive.
Not training, is it?
Like, not... I could do that, and I've had 0 training. I can spin. But yeah, I kind of think, like you said, Dan, unless you'd seen that first animated series, The Clone Wars, you don't really appreciate who Grievous is and why he's dangerous. And the film doesn't do a good job of getting that across. And when he bites it, it doesn't really mean anything because of that.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to just the problem of one and done bad guys.
Yeah, you're right. And just want to say a big hello to D Hazel as well as Mike from Our Theme Life. Good to see you, buddy. Welcome into the stream. Yeah, so and I do like the Grievous droids, but again, were they, it's kind of just like his bodyguards. I think they had a cool design, but
yeah,
I just wanted more from Grievous. I think we could have had a little bit more of a compelling character and a fun character rather than just, hey, this is villain number 3. Then it goes back to more of Anakin and Palpatine, and we finally get Palpatine admitting to Anakin that he knows the ways of the dark side, and he wants to train Anakin, and so he can save Padme's life. And I'm like, wow, this movie just turned 180. Like, this is starting right. This is like the point where, like, right, it's now a dark movie. Everything's about to go down from now on. And I think from then on, it just gets heavier in a way. Thank you, Liam. Go and enjoy WrestleMania. I'll be watching it soon as well. Enjoy. No spoilers because I'll be watching it. But thanks so much, buddy. So yeah, I think it's a good scene. I think it is a good scene because it continues from that Darth Plagueis scene.
Yeah, well, we have to get to that scene at some point.
Yeah,
at some point he's going to make himself known. We know that's coming. So yeah, it's a good time for it. Anakin's reaction to it was a little bit different for me than what I probably would have expected. I understand that he's battling something here, but the minute you find out you're the Sith Lord, I think the first thing I probably would have done is draw my lightsaber.
I mean, he does, but he kind of doesn't. He just like points it to the ground and doesn't move it.
That's true. No, you're right. He did draw it. I'm sorry. So I take that back. So he did that right. I like the scene. I mean, we needed to get there at some point, and I think he did the right thing. I don't know if he would have attacked him. He would have won anyway, so he would have lost. So it was probably the right scene. I mean, the right reaction. I forgot he did take out the lightsaber.
I feel like if this was any other Jedi, they would have just gone for him. They would have just like, if they found out that he was the Jedi Master, they would have gone, the Sith Master, they would have gone straight out and attacked him. But it was the fact that it was Anakin and that they've built a relationship together. It's kind of like he was reluctant to strike him down. Mike says, just my opinion, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite of the prequels. It broke my heart to see Obi-Wan cut ties with Anakin. You were the chosen one. It's not just your opinion, because I think we would agree that Revenge of the Sith is probably the popular prequel. Hey, Tor in the Galaxy, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, Dana. Welcome into the stream. Dana, really, really awesome channel. Does a lot of stuff at the park. So welcome in, Dana. Good to see you, my friend. Dougie, what do you think of the big reveal to Anakin that Palpatine's there?
I really, really like it. I love the way that he does it. He just sort of comes out and says it. He's done playing games. This is the way things have to happen now. I think yeah, Anakin's reaction isn't quite right, and I don't remember what Palpatine says. He either says something like, "Oh, are you going to kill me, or are you going to turn me in?"
Yeah.
And Anakin gives it this really blubby look. I would certainly like to.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes me out of the scene.
Yeah.
But if you're focusing on McDiarmid, and I think he's just so solid in this film.
I think he certainly gives the best performance out of all the actors in this movie.
He's brilliant in it, and if you're focusing on him and what he's saying, what he's doing, it's a great scene, and it's so important because this is the Emperor to be making his play. This is him moving the Queen right into check
in chess. Like this
Perfect,
is the
perfect, yeah.
right. And then we get to a fight scene which it's bad. It's bad. Mace Windu versus Palpatine. Oh boy. I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. I really don't like this fight scene because although you have two fantastic actors, there's no choreography. All we see is Ian McDermott, because bless his heart, Ian McDermott was how old? You know, he's not, you know, even and I believe it was a stunt double for a lot of it, but it was CGI'd his face on it. But when it was a close-up of Ian McDermott, he would have the sword like this, and he'd go like, huh, huh, like stabbing it. It just doesn't like. I'm sorry, you just don't do that. Like, you know, yes, you have to hold it two hands most of the time, but you don't like stab at it like you're playing like snooker or pool. You don't know. It just does. It just there's something about it that doesn't look right. And then he does a flip in the middle of the fight. So he does the old stuff, and then he does a backflip. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Samuel L. Jackson, I think, tries to make it look cool, but there's only so much he can do. And also, I don't like the fact that these minor Jedi masters were killed so easily. Granted that this is the all-powerful Sith Lord, they were like stabbed and they were dead. Like it doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't make too much sense. We won't talk about Anakin just yet, but let's just talk about Mace versus Palpatine.
This is probably the most frustrating scene for me in the entire film because the potential of what it could have been was really there. You have Mace Windu, one of the most powerful Jedi.
Most powerful,
against the most powerful Sith, in what could have been an incredibly great battle scene. And you're right, those other three Jedis, they were like Larry, and Curly. They were gone in a matter of seconds. One of them is Kit Fisto. Kit Fisto is really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And he goes down in like two swoops, just like that. I mean, they really could have made that scene, you know, cut out some of the early stuff and make that fight scene a little bit longer. You know, the remember when they were crashing the ship, that whole scene? Take that out.
Yeah.
Add me more of this battle scene, of this fight scene, and make it better. And it could have really made this film up even another notch because the potential was there, but it's just not quite reached, which is too bad.
What's really frustrating is you had, you know, in the prequels, granted there were maybe one or two bad fight scenes, but you had Duel of the Fates between Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul. And in the same movie, you had Anakin and Obi-Wan versus Dooku, which again was a good fight scene. And then you go back to this rubbish. It was just not good. It's so anticlimactic. Like you said, it's the second most powerful Jedi versus the Sith Lord. Like, come on. Like, there's something not right here. What do we say in the chat? Dana says, it gives you force, makes you stronger. Yeah, great line. Love that line. Narrative Escape says, Jedi are like ninjas. Lots of them are always weaker than one of them. And one says, but it was funny seeing Palpatine fall over and flip over his chair. We'll get there. You know, it's a letdown. Dougie, what do you think?
The worst part of it for me is the fact that he kills a couple of the Jedi very quickly. But they are just sort of standing there waiting to get killed.
Yeah.
It's like you're saying about the choreography. They do just sort of stand there. The idea is they're going to go and get the Sith master. And they don't seem to be like very sort of
it's like they're going to get a gallon of milk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What happened? Oh, dead. It just lacked any sense of urgency. Now, because I'm really interested in these things, again, this was a reshoot scene. Apparently, the first duel was very different, and Anakin was always there. So I wonder if part of the reason that it's kind of meh is that there wasn't time to choreograph a new scene. They just got these actors back in, and they're like, right, kind of do a thing. And I think that's the only reason I can think that it kind of sucks.
Yeah, but I think with the time that they've used, right, you have 4 insanely powerful Jedi, right? 2 of which are very powerful, and we know that Palpatine's going to come on top. You know, I feel like if this scene was maybe a little bit longer, and actually having the 3 Jedi who were there survive longer and put up a fight, it would actually make Palpatine even more powerful and make him even more of a bad guy. And then when actually he does die at the end of episode 6, you're like, right, we've killed the biggest bad guy there is. You know, we know how good he is with a lightsaber. We know how powerful he is. But just killing them like he's like poking them with a needle just doesn't work. And look, in my opinion, this is probably the worst part of the movie, apart from the blue screen rubbish. But let's bring in Anakin. I do like the fact that, you know, Anakin and Mace are going back and forth with each other, saying, no, he has to stand trial. Oh no, he can't stand trial. He's too powerful. We can't leave him alive. I love that. And I like the fact we do get the lightning from the Emperor, and that Mace is actually struggling. But I feel like, with all said and done, Anakin's switch to the dark side was so quick and abrupt. It was kind of like, I don't know. It just felt like, right, cut off Mace Windu's hand, gets flown out the window. Then he starts crying, and then he's like, I'm pledging to the Emperor. Like, it's kind of like if I was like having like a complete and utter meltdown, which obviously he is, you know, I would be like on the floor. Like, I would just be like, what is going on? Like, my life is a wreck. But he's just like, oh, I guess I'm with you now. Like, again, it's very abrupt. It feels very rushed.
Gotcha. Well, here's my opinion on the whole thing. I like when we get to that part and Mace Windu ultimately takes him down, and he's there and he's about to kill him, and Anakin comes in. It's actually apropos, because if you go back to the beginning of the movie, when he's there with Count Dooku and the Emperor tells him to kill him, after he kills him, what does the Emperor say? He says, "You did the right thing. He's too powerful to be left alive." Yeah. And then that's exactly what Mace Windu is saying. He's like, he's too dangerous to be left alive. And yet, you know, he shouldn't, he needs to, and Anakin saying he needs to stand trial. Well, he's doing the exact reverse opposite of what he did at the beginning of the movie. So it's apropos. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Is now that it's something that's going to benefit him, he wants him to be alive. And he wants him to be alive because he thinks he's going to be able to save Padme. So I get it. I do like the fact that they used the lightning as well. I thought that was really, really, really cool. You're right. I think his turn to the Emperor ultimately was probably a little quicker than we expected it to be. But at that point, the damage was done.
Yep.
Mace Windu is dead. Nobody's going to be on his side at this point anyway. So he might as well just go all in and hope that what this guy is telling me is correct. I mean, that's how I'm going to take it.
Yep.
Whether it should have been that way or not.
And I was just thinking with this whole, with what the Emperor said and Mace Windu said, I was just thinking in my mind, it's a cruel irony, like my dependence on you from the Emperor's New Groove. And I think it's just quite funny. Just hey, Disney Circus Girl, welcome into the stream. Narrative Escape says, switches to and from the dark side have always been a singular momentous choice, though, right?
Yeah.
I would agree with that. But again, there was so much build up, and then bam, it just happens. Hey, Noah, what's up, buddy? Dougie, what the turn, the turn from good to bad, was it abrupt for you? You know, did you like the fact he was using lightning and Mace Windu was killed so easily?
I really don't like the fact that Mace Windu was killed so easily, because in the what is now the sort of non-canon expanded universe, Mace Windu is meant to be the guy in terms of lightsaber combat.
Yeah.
Kind of goes to what Ian Narrative Escapes was saying. The mistake was bringing Palpatine down to a physical fight. Kind of agree with that. And I think you said in your Attack of the Clones one, Dan, that Yoda using a lightsaber felt odd because these are sort of almost like the mythic figures who are above this kind of combat.
Yeah.
And they brought it down to lightsaber, and I don't like that. Much more impressive to see Palpatine taking on 4 Jedi without him having a lightsaber, like, and somehow doing it. But Mace Windu, I mean, really, Mace Windu had kind of won the fight. Is an important thing. He had.
Well, if Anakin didn't do what he did, then the Emperor would have been dead.
Up until the point where Anakin got involved. But I like the use of Force Lightning. I don't like the Force Lightning scarring the Emperor because we've never seen it do that to anyone. But apparently, it's actually that's how he does Luke. It's not scarring. That's what the dark side has done to him, and his real face is a force projection.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Was the face that we saw as the Chancellor, was that just a disguise? And the look underneath was the real look?
It's meant to be like a force projection thing, which
again, it wasn't explained. And
no, it's not.
If it was me, right, and let's say if the lightning did affect his face, right, if I saw my face like that, I'll be like, whoa, what has happened to my face? Like, I would be really like, that he has no reaction to how his face has changed. Like, there's no, like, he's just like, oh, okay, this is how I look now.
Well, see, that's why I think maybe that was how he really looked, and the other thing might have actually been like a disguise. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, because you're right. It's never explained.
But in terms of the actual moment of the turn, like, the whole point originally was it was meant to be that Mace Windu saying he's too dangerous to stay alive was meant to feed into Anakin's paranoia about the Jedi as a political entity, rather than him thinking, oh no, that if he kills him, I won't be able to save Padme. It was never meant to be that. And it was meant to be Anakin going, oh, I'm right, they are corrupt. And I've fed into this. There's whole loads of other stuff going on. There's a scene in the movie that we have passed where Anakin walks into like Padme's house and was like, Obi-Wan was here, wasn't he? And he suspected that Obi-Wan and Padme were having an affair. It was a whole thing. He was just a paranoid guy.
Yes.
And that's the moment that was meant to solidify in his mind that he was right to be paranoid. And that's why he tried to take out Windu. And that's what it was meant to be. And I think if you had done that and put Anakin opposed to the Jedi, he should have ended up with the Emperor, because it was the only other path that he saw he could take, rather than being like, cool, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, I feel like with this scene, there's so many, it goes into interpretation of how you see the movie. But again, I don't know. It's
not well done.
It's not well done. It could have been refined. Order 66. I love this part of the movie. I really genuinely feel like, firstly, we actually get to see the Jedi do stuff for a little bit. We get to see new worlds. We get to see different, things that are going on. And we finally get the birth of what is the Empire, kind of. This is the first, big thing that happens. And to the Jedi, we start, Obi-Wan gets shot by Commander Cody. We get, bowling pin-headed guy. He gets shot. We get the Jedi who has got 2 big, long ponytails, blue one. She gets shot. Some get shot, out of the sky. Some get shot off a speeder. And the Jedi, it's kind of a really sentimental montage in a way. It's kind of like, they're all dying, and you just feel that Yoda is getting hurt and hurt and hurt. every time someone dies. And what I love is when he drops his walking stick and he feels like he is now alone. Like he feels like he's lost so many. He's in shock. And I think that's it's a really, I feel it's a really great scene.
I agree. What I like about this scene is it also tells you the scope of the war, how far-reaching this Clones War is. It's reached several different planets. It's not just one planet. It is throughout the galaxy, for sure. And you're right. The Order 66, I like the fact that they do it. What's funny about it is, not funny, but what's apropos is how surprised the Jedi are by it.
Yeah.
They never see it coming. They don't see it coming. They're totally surprised by it. They're totally invested, totally trusting of these clones, and they just never see it coming. First, you see, like you said, you see Ki-Adi-Mundi get killed, and then Alaya Sakura gets killed in the woods, wherever she is. That's kind of the purple woman, I guess. That's her name. I think that's her name. But yeah, you're right. The only part of this whole thing that, that I thought was a little bit, I had to kind of step back was when they went to the temple. They're coming right through the front door.
Yeah.
You don't see these guys coming? You're not prepared?
At the Jedi Temple.
At the Jedi Temple, your fortress. You don't see these guys coming in this front door, and they don't look like they're coming there for a party, and you guys can't mount some kind of defense. Maybe they do. I mean, maybe they kind of do, but I like the scene as a whole. That part of it was a little bit hard for me because I would have thought that they would have been able to put up a heck of a lot better defense against that than what we actually saw. But that was just me. And the scene where he goes in with the real little younglings and Anakin goes in there and they're like, Master Skywalker, they're overrunning us. What are we going to do? And the lightsaber comes out. I think that's apropos because it shows you just how far he's come now. That he would go to that length to kill real little younglings. He's just gone total evil.
Yeah. I just wanted to say a big hello to my buddy Corey from Corey Meets World. Welcome in, bud. Good to see you. Hope you've had a great weekend. Happy Sunday. And thank you for stopping by. And I think, Walt, you're absolutely right. This is the Jedi Temple of the galaxy, right? Obviously, Daydreaming of Boma. Oh my gosh. It's only taken an hour and 20 minutes and we haven't talked about food yet.
Food.
Oh, zebra domes. So yeah, no, I think this is like going to like the biggest prison in the United States and just walking through the front door. You're going to get shot. You're going to get attacked. Like, why isn't this well guarded? Yes, Palpatine says like they'll be caught off guard because obviously a lot of the Jedi were away, being killed everywhere else. But there are still, Padawans there. There are still younglings there. So there are still Jedi there. But I feel like how they just killed Dan's train of thought for the rest of the stream. It's in my head now, just thinking like, I cannot wait to eat those zebra domes. And there's that really nice soup.
Nice going, Corey.
There's like a corn soup and just some nice roast meat.
Oh man, that gets me. That stuff's just.
Oh gosh. What was I saying?
Yeah, he's gone. He's away. He's done.
It's Dougie's turn. Go ahead, Dougie.
Yeah, Dougie.
We gotta get back on track.
You go right. The Jedi Council Order 66. What's your opinion on it?
What Walt said was something I was going to say. The scope of the Clone Wars, I love, because at this time we didn't have the other animated series, the CGI animated series. We didn't really have a grasp of how big the Clone Wars were, and you see all these different planets and all these different Jedis, and they just go because their allies turning them. I absolutely love it. And then the attack in the temple, it doesn't really make much sense. That they can just sort of saunter in, because even if at that point they still think the clones are on their side and they've got a thing, you would be like, I think someone would be like, "What are you doing?
Yeah,
why are you here?" And And Anakin killing the younglings, yeah, excellent way to illustrate how far he's fallen. I just think it happens too quickly after he's like, he chops off Mace Windu's hand and he like falls and he's like, what have I done? And he's like, oh, go and kill all those little kids. He's like, oh, okay, cool, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's ultimately true. I mean, he's like, oh, okay, yes, sir. Sure will. Be right back.
And then we also get, again, George Lucas has made this a third time of choosing amazing childhood actors. And we get this amazing childhood actor who comes into the scene and he goes up to Hayden Christensen. He goes, he's like the most British accent in the world. He goes, Master Skywalker, there's too many of them. What are we going to do? And I'm like, really? Like everyone in this movie has an American accent, and then you've got this kid who's got like he's a terrible actor. And okay, granted, it's a kid, but again, like I've said with other childhood actors, you know, you can get great childhood actors, aka you can always get a Home Alone. Okay, that's a great childhood actor. Okay, stop ranting now. But it just doesn't work. I don't get it, you know.
Would you want him to have a New York accent?
It would be better than having a strong British accent when everybody else is American. It just doesn't. Okay, Liam, do not spoil the cruiserweight match because that's a match I'm looking forward to. But yeah, it just I don't know. I don't know about it. It's just yeah. Order 66. I love it up until that last tiny bit where it all gets ruined. Bail Organa coming out at the end. You know, being told to go away by the clone troopers, I think is quite good.
Yeah.
And he sees the youngling getting killed. I think that is, and the way he gets back in his speeder is quite a great scene. But yeah, it kind of escalated to a point where this childhood actor it just ruins it for me. I don't know. Like you said, I nitpick. So, but let's head back to Kashyyyk, and we finally get something which I've been waiting for 2 movies. We get Yoda's theme. Finally, we get Yoda's theme. We find it as soon as he blasts off. We get da, 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 da. And I'm like, yes, we finally get that theme, like the theme we love when he was in Dagobah. Like we finally get an Empire reference. Like it's like, why have we not heard this theme since Return of the Jedi? Like, I was excited yet so frustrated. But yeah, so we get Yoda's theme. And then we get an actual Star Wars set. We're finally on
Bail Organa's ship.
Yeah, Bail Organa's ship, which is the ship from episode 4, A New Hope, which is great. We actually get a Star Wars set, which I'm really excited. And then we do get, obviously, Anakin's going to Mustafar and slicing and dicing his way through all the Separatists. And what I love about this scene is you see his eyes change. Like, you see, like, his eyes turn red. And I'm like, that is great. I love the fact he looks back. He does, like, that pan look to the camera. And you see his red eyes. I love it. So those little scenes I really like. It gives, you know, it feels like, right, we're getting into the last part of this, the last act of this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I like that, too. I like the Separatist scene where he goes there and he shuts all the doors to make sure none of them get out.
Yeah.
And he gets them all one by one. And you're right. I think that's when you look at him and you see him and you see his eyes change, that's where you know that he's done. He's at this point, the change is done. It's complete. He's now fully Darth Vader. He's going to move forward at this point, no matter what. And I think it's a good scene. It definitely, again, shows his brutality of what he's willing to do to ultimately get what he wants. And he's starting to really like it, too, it seems like.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's kind of nice to have that kind of light moment from Yoda, the light side of the Force with his theme, and then going back to the dark side with Anakin. What about these scenes, Dougie? How this sets up the last part of this movie?
I love the last little bit with Yoda. And yeah, the turn from Anakin with the eyes is really, really cool. It's just like it's another little thing, like this is happening and he's gone. There's no coming back from this. And I had a little laughing fit and I put my mic off for a while. Out of nowhere, just because you were talking about the little British kid.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, I think because I was watching Creed 2 yesterday.
Oh, great movie.
In my head, he's now being dubbed by Sylvester Stallone. And I want to see that.
That would be neat to see.
Oh, Master Skywalker.
Hey, Skywalker.
Hey, what are we going to do? I love it. You could put Arnold in there. Master Skywalker. You know, I think it would be just funny. You could put all these different voices in there. You have like Kermit the Frog in there. Oh,
yeah.
So let's skip Obi and Padme because trying to find out where Anakin is. Again, skippable scene. Obi-Wan and Padme end up on Mustafar. And we were doing really well, but George Lucas decides to go back to the wooden dialogue. And if you're not with me, then you're my enemy. You will not take her from me. And I'm like, what? You're cutting all tension now. Like, everything was going so well. Like, he didn't even have to say anything. And then he goes and says this. Oh my god! They stopped
the movie just to have some terrible dialogue between him and her. She's got like, "You're walking down a road I can't follow. And you're breaking my heart." And it's just shut up.
You guys got me ready to make them happen so hard.
It is
like unnecessary dialogue. Oh my god, it's so funny.
This dialogue just. These small things just ruin the movie. There was no need to have like this interaction, right? It just and then he knocks out Padme. I'm sorry, I would never ever knock out my partner. I don't think anybody would want to knock out their wife because remember, love is the most. Everyone's been saying love is the most important thing. Love is so powerful. I would never ever force grip my wife. I'd never force choke my wife or partner or whatever.
You can do that?
Well, that's what Anakin did, apparently.
I think it's really not funny as in haha, but it's funny that he does that and just sort of forgets why he says he's doing all this in the first place.
Yeah, it's true. He's willing to kill her, but nobody else can. He wants to save her if anybody else does it.
Change your mind. I'm glad you're dying.
It just goes right over his head.
Everything that he's fighting for, right? Oh god!
And I think perhaps this might be Palpatine's fault because he's kind of completely messed him up. But again, like it just doesn't make sense. So the dialogue is bad, but we now get Anakin versus Obi-Wan Kenobi. When I watched this movie in 2005 in the movie theater, I thought this was awesome. I really genuinely thought that it was a great fight. You did feel both sides. You felt like you really wanted Obi-Wan to overcome Anakin, but also, this is Anakin. We don't want him to turn to Darth Vader, although we know he is. But rewatching it now, I don't love it as much as I used to because it's so over choreographed. It feels like they're dancing more than they're fighting. Hey, Adam, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Welcome into the stream. I just feel like, when they do the whole like thing behind their back and then they clash together, it just feels very over choreographed. Granted, there's a lot of tension between these two. I just feel like if they were more aggressive and less showboaty, I think it would have been a lot better. And that's just my opinion on that fight scene. I wish there was more dialogue during the fight, because otherwise it's just them just fighting. And I feel like there needs to, these are practically brothers. They're practically brothers. I would have loved to say, like, you're meant to bring balance to the Force, maybe during the fight. Like, maybe Obi-Wan says, stop doing this. You're not thinking, or something along those lines. Or maybe something like Palpatine's corrupted your mind or something along those lines. But we get no dialogue between them. Maybe that's a good thing because it's George Lucas writing. But again, very over choreographed with hardly any dialogue during the fight. That's just my opinion. I know that it's quite an unpopular opinion, but I'm intrigued to hear what you both think. So, what do you think of?
I'm conflicted on this because it's a really good fight scene. I think it's one of the best in the trilogies between the two of them. I understand the choreographed side of it. Look, these are two actors who I think did a really good job of doing what they did in these scenes. I think what scares me is, I agree with you. I think some dialogue in between here would have been perfect to really build the scene and build the tension. But you're right. What worries me is we probably would have got the wrong dialogue and it would have hurt the scene. Yeah. So even though normally we say less is more, I think more would have been better there, but who knows at this point. I thought the scene itself, even though it was choreographed, I think most of these are, I liked the scene. I thought it was really good. I thought it was action-packed for the most part. I liked the fact that they were outside, brought a little bit of tension to it, of the fact that, oh my God, they might go over the cliff. They could fall into the lava. I really liked that part of it. What's the word I'm looking for? The unpredictability of it, maybe, of what could happen to them. I thought it was a great fight scene. I like it.
I do want to ask, though, how hot is this lava? Because, look, I'm no volcanic expert, but I'm pretty sure if I stood in the middle of a volcano, I'm pretty sure I'm going to die with burns. And, I don't even have to be standing on it, but I know that it's going to be insanely hot to be standing in the middle of a volcano. So I don't. Is this a silly question to know how hot this lava is?
It seemed pretty hot. It was melting away that steel.
So, but if it's melting steel, right? But it's just something about it doesn't quite add up. Hey, Timothy Raymond says, "Oh damn! By the way, I'm making tacos. Yeah, put pickles on it. Put pickles on it." Dougie, what about this scene for you?
So just on that, yeah, I do think it's hilarious that when it gets to the end and he catches on fire because he slides a little bit closer to the lava, but they have essentially been standing in it for 10 minutes. And it's totally fine. That's just a really hot bit, that one bit. I don't know, like I don't think more dialogue would have helped the fight, because the dialogue we do get around it's like, oh, Anakin, the Chancellor is evil. From my point of view, the Jedi are evil. Okay, like it's badly written, it's badly delivered, and then you've got the just before they start fighting, either you're with me or you're my enemy. Only a Sith deals in absolutes, which is in itself an absolute, but we're going to ignore that. And then you have what I think is just this ridiculously overdone fight scene, like you said, Dan, over choreographed, but just too many locations, too much jumping about on top of lava robots and stuff. I think that needed to be a smaller, more intimate fight.
I agree, and there's one scene in this final part which I've got to give credit to Chris Stuckman, who is a YouTuber who I base my opinions on, because I think he does a great job. There's a great scene that he pointed out. Obi-Wan jumps on top of the hill, right? And Obi-Wan is still on that little platform at the end of the fight. And he goes, "It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground." Now, don't get me wrong. In Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, am I right to say that Obi-Wan didn't have the high ground? and he still won. Does that make sense? Like,
well, I'll put it to you this way. Yes, it makes sense, and here's why. He's on a different level. Anakin wasn't there yet. He wasn't a Jedi Master yet. In other words, he's saying, if we were on the same level, even though I have high ground, maybe you can beat me, but you're not at the same level as me yet, and I have the high ground. It's over.
So you're thinking, it's not literally, but also figuratively as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think it's because not only am I a better Jedi than you right now, I also have the high ground. I undoubtedly have the advantage.
He's pretty much said, I've won. There's no way of beating me now.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I took it.
I think that's a great way of looking at it. I didn't think of it that way. Yeah, I just thought, you know, comparing it to episode 1, because Obi-Wan was not in that position. It was kind of like, you know, he didn't have the high ground before and he still won.
Right. So but that's only because he was just better. And that's like Yoda. Yoda may not have had the high ground, but I still think he could win because of his ability.
I agree.
Depending upon who had the high ground, you know, that's how I see it.
So let's do a 180 and talk about the other fight scene that is being in comparison, in parallel to this, and that is the Emperor versus Yoda. Now, if you've been watching our Star Wars Sunday episode 1 and 2, I mentioned that this fight could have been way better if Yoda hadn't fought Count Dooku in episode 2, because this would be the first time we would be able to see Yoda actually fight the best Jedi in the galaxy versus the ultimate Sith Lord. I would have loved to actually see Yoda actually fight for the first time, and actually the only time in the whole Star Wars movie franchise in this scene, but unfortunately we saw it in episode 2. The first thing I just want to say, I love how he disposes of the 2 red guards as soon as he walks in. He just goes, poof, and they're dead. I think that's great. How he pushes the Emperor over his seat looks very awkward. It's almost sort of like a meme. Like he poof, and he falls back on his chair. It looks kind of weird. I don't know, something about it. I don't know. But the whole fight scene, I enjoy it. I think it's, you know, I don't think it's the best thing ever, but I do like the fact that it's both these two fighting. You know, even though it's not the best fight scene, I do just enjoy having these two fight, because this is the good of all evil, the good of all Jedi and the bad of all evils. Like, this is like the ultimate bad guy, good guy showdown. You know, this actually reminds me a lot of Vader versus Luke in comparison, because this is the dark and the light fighting together. So yeah, so I do like it. There are problems with this fight scene, but overall I do like the fact that Yoda lost, or he gave up, or whatever, however you'd like to interpret it. And Palpatine did seem a little bit weak at the end. You know, he was just like hanging on, screaming like a little girl. I mean, I don't know. I like it, but it's not the best thing ever.
I love this scene. I don't know. I think it's really cool. I love the music in the background building as they're coming in. The music's done really, really well. The only thing I don't like about the scene is the fact that it's not longer.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
Could have expanded. They could have took a little bit away from the Anakin Obi-Wan and put a little bit more into this because of who we're talking about. We're talking about, like you said, the baddest of bad guys against the goodest of good guys in the ultimate heavyweight matchup. I like the fact that they use their lightsabers. I like the fact that he's throwing things, these giant things at Yoda, and he's got to dodge them. I just wish they could have done a little bit of that, incorporated both sides, and then more lightsabers, a little bit of the Force stuff that they did. I think it was done pretty well. I think it ended like that. It was like, okay, boom, and now it's over, and he runs away.
Yep.
I don't know that he would have ran away. And to me, I don't see Yoda running away. No. I see Yoda staying and finishing it. That's simple. He's not that type. I mean, I don't take him that way. That's just me.
I love the fact they used, you know, the Senate room, the Senate, big open theater thing as their battleground. Because that's, for me, that's literally saying a big, hey, no more negotiations. No more episode 1 negotiations. We're fighting in this thing. And I love that. I love the fact they're using these stupid things that Jar Jar gave emergency stupid powers to Palpatine to throw at Yoda. I think it's cool. I do like that. I like the fact that, again, I would love to have it a little bit longer, maybe a little bit more tense. I would have loved, like, a scene maybe of Yoda, like, not hiding, but just, like, catching his breath, and then, bang, he goes to attack Palpatine, like, a bit of intention. But, yeah, I do like it. Again, maybe not as... It's not one of my personal favorites, but I can see why people like it a lot, and I know, and it is a great scene. It is fun. Dougie, what do you think of this fight scene in particular?
Yeah, I really like that you get to see the two leaders of their order go at it. But I think, it could have been more, and it should have been more, given that that's what it was. Like, this is meant to be the most powerful of both sides going against each other, and it just lacks something. I want to go back just very quickly, because I promised. I've got a Star Wars obsessed friend at work, and I told him I was telling him about this, and he wanted me to say that the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight is essentially a parent, Obi-Wan, arguing with a 2-year-old who wants a bit of chocolate. And that's what that whole fight boils down. And I promised him that I would get that
in. That's brilliant. I love it. I absolutely love that. That's great. Awesome. I love it. Awesome. So Yoda loses, or he runs, or however you interpret it. Anakin is being burnt to death, and we get Padme being transported to effectively a hospital. And one thing that really didn't get to me, hey, Jennifer Ever After, welcome into the stream. They say Padme's lost the will to live. Okay, I kind of buy that. Look, Anakin didn't have a father and he was born, okay, whatever. So I guess things can happen, but lost the will to live, I don't know. I'll just accept it, but doesn't really make too much sense to me. But what I love about this scene is how George Lucas intercuts the birth of Darth Vader with the birth of his son and daughter. And I really do like the fact they cut back and forth with the birth of Luke and Leia and the pain that Padme is going through with childbirth, with the pain of Anakin being transformed now into Darth Vader. I do really like that a lot. Hey, Pamela Hoffman, welcome in stream. Happy Sunday. She lost the will to live several films ago, says Narrative Escapes. I love it. Yeah, I do quite like it. I liked it more as adult eyes. I really liked it as adult eyes when I watched it as an adult. When I was a child, I didn't really get it. But I do like the fact that he has intercut both of these. Hey, Paula Rainwaters, welcome into stream. Wish you lived closer. We would have for tacos tonight. Yes, tacos for sure. Zippity Doodad says, eating dinner at Flame Tree Barbecue, one of my favorite quick services places in Animal Kingdom. Get the loaded fries.
Yes, they're good.
So good. Disney Food Friday. Go. Yeah. I can't believe we're talking more about food. I blame Corey. I don't know if he's still here. So I do like this. I do like the comparison scene. What do you guys think?
I do. It's done really well. They intermingle it really well. It makes sense. It's a good connection. I do like it. It's a little bit cheesy in some ways, but I think we understand the whole point of it, and it's done well. It's her. They come out and she says the names. I don't even know how she came up with the names, but I guess she had the names already ready to go, but not that they were ever mentioned.
She's seen the original film. That's
yeah. That's exactly right. She goes, oh, that's right. I'm supposed to name them this. But it was done well. It made sense. You're right. The birth of his children at the same time, the birth of probably the most recognizable villain in all of film history, in my opinion.
I would definitely agree with that. And Dougie?
Yeah, the lost the will to live thing still doesn't really sit well with me. I feel like Lucas was sitting at his typewriter going, "Oh, she's got to die." And even as her say, like the robot nurse, doctor, man, woman say, physically she's fine. She's just dying anyway. And like, I just thought it was lazy writing. Apparently, there's a version of the script where she actually survives and helps start the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah.
And dies between 3 and 4. But yeah, the birth of Luke and Leia cut in with the building of Darth Vader and how much pain is involved in both, because she's given birth, having a terrible old time of it, and he's basically going through absolute agony as he's built into the Darth Vader that we know. And then I think that his bit more than her, if she hadn't died or had died, they just said, "Oh yeah, she's dying because he choked her because he's a mad rocket," then maybe I would have bought it more. But the fact that they go physically she's fine, and Disney Circus Girl just said, like, Leia remembers Padme, and I'm sure in the original script Padme survived and went off and started the Rebel Alliance, and it all would have made more sense. But I think he just wanted to tie up that loose end, whether or not it made sense or not, and that just doesn't.
Yeah, it didn't tie well with episode 6, where she says that she goes, "Just feelings, images of my mother," and he says, "I have no memory of my mother." You're right. It doesn't necessarily tie it up. But that being said, again, even if they had just said she died at childbirth, instead of saying, like you said, Dougie, she's physically fine, but she's dying anyway. Just she dies during childbirth. End of story. Makes sense. We understand.
Disney Circus Girl says, "Yeah, no, Padme's death doesn't sit right with me, especially after Return of the Jedi, as Leia tells Luke she can remember her mother who died when she was young." It's interesting. Right. It is interesting, and we'll talk about that when we get to Return of the Jedi. It is interesting to see, Padme's involvement with the sequels. We'll see about that. Brandon's here. Revenge of the Sith is the second best Star Wars film. That is a big statement. That's people have different rankings. I wouldn't put it as my second pick, but there are a lot of people who love this movie. So yeah, cool, man. Jack, Sandy Claus, Logan, welcome into stream. Dude, Obi-Wan said they were split up at birth in Return of the Jedi as well. Yeah, no, it's true. It is absolutely true.
Yep.
No, why did they have to add that in?
Poor James Earl Jones. I know. I don't know why they did that either.
Like, it was going so well. Like, where's Padme? Is she alive? Like it was really going well. And then you kind of like, he does like the Titanic thing where he puts his arms out like this, and he goes, "No," and I'm like, why?
He also reminded me of Frankenstein when he broke free.
Like it was going so well, and they ruined it. Like, it just doesn't sound right. Like, when does ever, like, it's just so cheesy. Like, yeah, I understand he's in so much pain, but I feel like there's a difference between, giving you an expression rather than telling you an expression.
Right.
I feel like instead of shouting no, he should be like ripping stuff up. Like, I know he starts blowing stuff up when he gets out of the chair thing, but if he's so angry, like, I just want him to lash out, I want him to, like, he lost his wife. Well, technically he choked her out, but yeah. But it just, look, I don't know. It just, George Lucas, like, there's so much great stuff you did with this movie, but there's that Attack of the Clones Phantom Menace aspect of it as well. And you see that in the no, and it's just ugh. Yeah. Let's see what's in the chat. Yeah, who loses the will to live when you're having twins and know the dad is an evil villain? Says Jet River after. Pamela Hoffman says, Return of the Jedi is my absolute favorite. That used to be my absolute favorite when I was a child. I loved Return of the Jedi. Yeah, that to me is the most cringy worth moment of Star Wars. Yep. My dog loves the stream. He is barking along with the with the doggy barking.
That's probably my dog outside. Sorry, guys.
Camden should come join us. He should have gone Kylo Ren on their beep. I'm not going to mention that word because it's a family-friendly stream. But I can see where you're going with that Disney Circus girl. Forgive my language there, but he should have. Yeah, we'll talk about Kylo Ren. I will. We certainly will be talking about Kylo Ren very, very soon. But then, you know, let's wrap up the rest of the. So Darth Vader goes no, cringe. Leia goes with Bail Organa. Obi-Wan goes to Tatooine to take Luke to his aunt and uncle. Yoda goes into hiding, and yeah, that's it. This just I don't know. It's just kind of like a bit of a it's done. I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's a bit of a climactic ending. In a way that it was kind of really anticlimactic. Hey Jack, what's up, buddy? May the force be with you, man. I think it was a very anticlimactic ending, but it started off very action-packed and then it ended quite like quiet in a way. Like it just it was a good way to get into episode 4, I feel.
Yeah, I think it's the right way to end it. I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
I just want to say a big thank you to Dole Whip Dad, who sent the Green Wizard over. Welcome, Green Wizard. Big shout out to Dole Whip Dad. He's absolutely awesome. A good friend of mine. Jeff is awesome. And Mr. Gonzo PR, welcome into the stream. Good to see you, buddy. Welcome in. Happy Sunday. Both of you, welcome into Star Wars Sunday. We are just talking about Revenge of the Sith, episode 3. So what do we guys think of the ending of this movie?
I think the ending's correct. I mean, I think it's the right way. We see where Leia goes, we see where Luke goes, and that's kind of how you had to end it to get us to the next, to 4. So it made sense to me. I mean, it had to kind of end on an anticlimactic because the story goes on, and we move forward from here. It's not over. We just finally got the backstory of what led us to the originals. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and Dougie?
Yeah, kind of the same. You can't go for a big showy ending. It has to be about setting up what we've seen. But and I think they do it very, very well. The final image, I believe, is the twin sons, and it's the perfect image to finish on. Because it's more or less where we come back into the story.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like it.
I do love seeing just that glimpse of young Tarkin as well on the.
Yeah, I do like the little. It is CGI Tarkin, but I do like the fact that we get a little glimpse on the Death Star leading into what is now going to be Rogue One. We're starting to put the pieces together into the originals, and yeah, it's kind of exciting. It's really great to see where we're going to go from here.
Yep.
So, hey, I was just saying, Dad, welcome into the stream, buddy. Good to see you. Thank you so much for sending people over. Close down my stream to get over here. How you all tonight? Go Star Wars. Jeff, we need to get you on to Star Wars Sunday at one point. That'd be awesome. But Jeff Bates is in the house. Welcome in, bud. Welcome in. Glad to find a big fan of the movies. Well, thank you so much, Green Wizard, for joining us. I really do appreciate it. So let's talk about the overall film, where you would rank it. Is it in your top half, your bottom half? Where is it for you? Obviously, you can add in any other films if you wanted to, but obviously, for Walt and I, we're not going to give our full list away because we'll be doing this every month. But Dougie, you are feel free to tell us what your list is and where you would place this movie. Firstly, Pamela Hoffman says, "Why do you like Star Wars? Is still so popular today?" Star Wars is the biggest franchise, probably apart from Marvel now, probably out there. Like it's just Star Wars has been from 1977 the biggest franchise. It's the number one selling toy product franchise. It just, I think it just relates to so many people, right? You know, it's an action movie, it's a sci-fi movie, it's a romantic movie. Granted, some of it is better than the others. You know, we would argue, say the originals are way better than the prequels, and you know maybe the sequels as well. But you know, Star Wars is just, it's revolutionary. Star Wars has been a film revolution in cinema. So that's where I go. So, Walt, final thoughts on Revenge of the Sith. Where is it in your list? What is your ranking? Where would you put it in your ranking?
Well, I think it's the best of the prequels by a lot. He learned, I think, some lessons from the original, you know, from the first two that he did. I think it's a good movie and has good parts to it. I think it's a good bridge to 4, 5, and 6. There are things about it that aren't good, but no movie, I think there are very few perfect movies out there. So I'm okay with that. I think overall I enjoyed this movie. It's better than, you know, the other two prequels, but that's probably about as far as it goes as to what it's better than for me.
Okay, great. I like that. And I totally agree. Like I said at the start of the stream, this is the watchable prequel. Definitely, for sure. And I feel what's good about this movie in particular is that it actually tells a compelling story. Like, it actually tells you a good story. I think it actually, despite the dialogue that has been said, it is quite well written in terms of the story. And I do like that. I like the way Anakin's manipulation has affected him. I like the fact that, you know, he goes darker and darker and darker throughout the movie before, bam, right, he's now Vader. You know, I do like, you know, Anakin's role in this. Padme, okay, whatever. But we've already spoken about Padme's role in this, and Dougie's given us great insight to the rewrites, which is great. But I think it does tell a compelling story way better than the prequel. So I like the fact you've put that above those two. Dougie, as you are our guest, what is your ranking of your Star Wars films, and where would you place Revenge of the Sith, and your final thoughts on this movie?
I can't rank them as a series, because I do see every little bit of it as a separate little entity, like rather than like one whole thing. If I had to try and do that, I think Revenge of the Sith would still be third bottom. I think the prequels would still be the bottom of the list for me. 2, 1, 3. My estimation of 3 went down a little bit in this latest viewing because there was more of the prequel nonsense than I remember there being. But it had a little boost in my estimation because I think, weirdly, because of another movie, I think with the release of Rogue One and the bridge between closing that sort of bridge between the two trilogies helped me appreciate the prequels just a little bit more.
Yep.
But yeah, it's still third bottom, although I do not hate this movie. And the only one that I hate is Attack of the Clones. But
at least we're on the same wavelength there, buddy.
Amen.
Third from the bottom. Okay. I know Empire's up top. I'm not breaking any
nice
there.
Great choice. Right, for me, I do actually like this movie. Like I said, this was the movie I first watched in the movie theater. Out of all 10 movies that have currently been released, for me, it's actually 6th. There are obviously the 2 prequels at the bottom of my list. There are 2 movies that are below Revenge of the Sith, which we will be getting to soon. Because I don't know, I just prefer this. I like this movie a little bit more than the 2 movies we'll get to in the next couple of months. Which you could probably see where they're going with this. But again, it's for me, it's mid-table, on the lower half of the mid-table. But yeah, I do like this movie. There are problems, and like most films in the world, there are very few perfect movies. Jeff says The Godfather Part 2, which I would definitely agree is one of the best movies ever. most films have problems, and I feel this does have problems, but not as bigger problems as some of the others, maybe. But that's my opinion. I'd put it 6th. And I think it's now time for some Star Wars trivia. Like we do every single month. Your scores will be ranked, and I will keep a list. And if you guys weren't here the first 2 times, you are playing for a big Galaxy's Edge grand prize at the end of the year after episode 9 has been released. Whoever's got the most amount of points. Now, Dougie, you unfortunately this week you won't be able to play, but you are currently, I believe, winning in the points at the moment.
For now.
So for now. Right.
Don't anybody dare.
Hey, but you know who could pop in is definitely not Dougie.
So I have 4 current. I have 4 questions at the moment. I need to think of a 5th in just a minute. It is the first answer that I see, and these are all related to Revenge of the Sith. Well, do you mind keeping count for me?
I'll do my best. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Right, first question. What? Wait, let me see if everyone's ready in the chat. If you are ready in the chat, please put a 1 in the chat, and we'll get started with some Star Wars Revenge of the Sith trivia. So let's wait and see. Yep. So we've got Disney Circus Girl, Jennifer is ready, Pamela Hoffman is ready, Jeff is ready. All right, let's go. So Green Wizard's ready, Melissa's ready. Okay, we are all ready. Okay, first question is, what is the color of Anakin's spaceship at the beginning of the movie?
Good one.
Color. First person I see.
In the beginning of the movie, everybody, what's the color of his ship?
Melissa says yellow, and that is correct. Hopefully Walt didn't text Melissa.
I didn't say anything to nobody.
But
downstairs.
Melissa has got the first answer correct. It is yellow. Awesome. Question number 2. Great job, everybody. Question number 2. How many green lightsabers did General Grievous have in the fight against Obi-Wan Kenobi? How many green lightsabers did General Grievous have against Obi-Wan Kenobi? We need the what's it called? Can't remember what it's called. 4, 3. Melissa, it's 2. So he has 2 blue and 2 green. 2 blue and 2 green. Remember, listen to the question. It's how many green lightsabers did Grievous have when he was fighting Obi-Wan Kenobi? It was 2. He had 2 green and 2 blue. Well done, Melissa. Good try, everybody. Well done. Now, I am looking for the names of these people, okay? Where did Luke go to at the end of the movie? Where did Luke go at the end of the movie? Looking for the names of the people.
You looking for the names of the people or something else?
Not the planet. Where did Luke go at the end of the people? End of the movie. To his agent, Tata, we're looking for the people's name.
All right. To his agent.
You and Ben? Uncle Ben. I will take that. Uncle Ben for Disney Circus. Was it? No, it's not Uncle Ben.
No, it's not.
It's not Uncle Ben. There we go.
Nope, that's not right either.
Right. I feel like Melissa is the closest
so far
with Uncle Owen, who will give 1 point to Melissa for Uncle Owen. Who can remember the other one?
Narrative Escapes is on the right track.
Come on. I think somebody said the aunt's name.
So we've got Uncle Owen, and we'll give that to Jeff, Aunt Beru.
Aunt Faru. That's right. Aunt Faru.
Yep. All right. So 1 point for Melissa for getting Uncle Owen, and we'll give a point to Jeff as well.
All right.
Awesome. Our final question is, what are the droids that end up on Obi-Wan's spaceship at the beginning of the movie? What are the names of the droids that end up attached to Obi-Wan's spaceship at the beginning of the movie? What are the names of the droids? Buzz droids to Melissa. Melissa's storing it. All right, guys. Don't worry if you did not win. Don't worry because you have another 7 more films to compete. So please make sure you come back next month to compete in some more trivia. But again, thank you so much. But guys, Revenge of the Sith, a fine movie. You know, I think it's easily the watchable prequel, a fun movie. I like it a lot. But next month, we are going to be talking about, where is it? Solo, a Star Wars story. Solo, a Star Wars story is the next one on our list. Remember, we're going in chronological order. We are going to be watching this standalone film, Solo, a Star Wars story. So please, guys, go check out Solo. That is going to be next month. Walt and I will bring on another special guest to talk about Solo, a Star Wars story. Speaking of special guests, Dougie, I just want to give a massive thank you, my friend, for joining us. You are a wonderful guest, dude. Guys, if you have not checked out Walter Graham's, he's got a really great channel. Really just genuine. No, don't shake your head at me, brother. You honestly, you do a really great job, and you know, over 1,000 subscribers. Recently went to Harry Potter recently, which was awesome. And dude, you honestly, you're doing a great job. So guys, if you haven't checked out Walter Graham's, please go check Dougie's channel out. Good friend of mine, a great supporter of the channels. And is there anything you want to plug, Dougie? Twitter, YouTube?
No. YouTube's on a bit of a nothing really happening at the moment, but I will soon be getting back from Disneyland Paris. I'll hopefully have some vlogs and stuff from that. They've got the big Marvel thing happening there, so that should be fun. And that's about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for joining us.
Twitter, which is I spew bile all over the place.
But it was great having you, and thank you so much again. And
thanks for having me. Love.
If you know a Star Wars fan, this is the guy. And speaking of Star Wars fan, this is the 3rd one, Walt. And I don't know about you, but I'm having a great time. And we're finally talking about, you know, we don't have to literally rip on all the movie, but we actually talked about a fun movie today. And Revenge of the Sith was great. And it was great having you again. This has been so fun. I've been really enjoying this.
Me too. I appreciate you having me as usual. I'm glad we were able to partner up on this. It's been a ton of fun. Special thanks, Dougie. It's been a pleasure, bud. I hope you had a good time. That's what we always look to, is when the special guest comes on. We get you in here because first we want you here. We enjoy your company. Second, because you know Star Wars, and we all love you. And we're just glad you were able to join us tonight. And we had a great time with you being here. But thank you to everybody in the chat too. Everybody in the chat. There was a lot of great banter back and forth in the chat. I think everybody did great. And this was awesome. I love doing this every month.
Absolutely. And speaking of next month, Solo will be on Walt's channel. We're doing alternate channels. So Solo will be on Walt's channel for next month, which is really exciting. And we're going to have a lot of fun talking about Solo, a Star Wars story. If you haven't checked out Mouse Talk, just great friends of mine, really awesome channel. Mouse Madness, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sports Night after Disney Fiasco. That's a lot of fun as well, although I don't understand a lot of the sports stuff, but it's great fun anyway. I really do enjoy it. And anything else you want to plug? And I think we're coming to the end of the Facebook Mouse Madness competition, aren't we?
Yep. We're down to the Elite 8. Well, the Awesome 8, as I like to call them. There was the Great 8. And those matchups are finishing up. So if you haven't already voted, go out to our Facebook page. It's Mouse Talk 411, or on YouTube, or you can go to Twitter and vote there. They're all out there. We've had thousands of votes already, if you can believe that. I mean, we had over 2,400 votes in just the first round alone. It's been going really, really good, and I think it's a lot of fun. And we're finishing up the grade 8, and we're going to get down to the Fantasy 4 next, and it's going to be great. I just appreciate everybody, and we're close to 1,300 subs. I hate plugging that stuff, but we're really close to 1,300.
Go subscribe to Mouse Talk. Go and subscribe to Walter Grams as well. Firstly, I just want to quickly say, Zippity Doo Dad, we're going to be good friends if you're talking about Nomad Lounge, because Nomad Lounge is one of my favorites. Yep. But yeah, I love it when you guys go live, and your Tuesday, Thursdays live streams are so much fun, because more or less we just end up talking about food every time I come into the chat. And then sports night's always fun after I finish Fiasco. So a big shout out to Mouse Talk. Thank you so much again, Walt. It's been fun. I look forward to next month. And guys, I just want to give a massive thank you to everybody in the chat. You guys are absolutely awesome. You guys not only just love Disney, but love our love of Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar. Like, it just is so much fun. Maybe even next year we do a Marvel thing. Who knows? I don't know. But we're having so much doing this. So please make sure we hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Ring that notification bell for Disney Down. We got Disney Food Friday coming this week. Videos will be slow this week. I'm actually going on vacation on Wednesday. So Disney Fiasco will be on Megan's channel, my partner channel, Mickey's Magic, this week. I will be on there, Mickey's Magic, for Disney Fiasco this week. But I will be there. But Meg will be hosting this week. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and yeah, we're really excited to see what's happening. I'm very close to 1,200 subscribers. So we're all going to be hitting milestones soon. I'm going to go off and watch WrestleMania, because it's WrestleMania right now. So if you're a big wrestling guy, go watch WrestleMania, because that's what I'm going to be doing. Zippity Doo Dad says, I'm going to try and go live tomorrow at Magic Kingdom. Zippity Doo Dad, I hope to be there. Happy birthday as well, my friend. Good to see you as well.
Happy birthday. And
guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Dougie. Thank you, Walt. I really do appreciate it. I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Have a magical day, everybody. Live your life with a smile each and every day. And may the force be with you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.